Unfortunately for Donald Trump, it looks like the divorce is preceding the honeymoon. Dr. Charles Krauthammer made notice of this, a week ago. Now, the shortest honeymoon on record is finally over, if indeed it ever began. Normally, newly elected presidents enjoy a wave of goodwill that allows them to fly high at least through their first 100 days. Donald Trump has not yet been sworn in, and the honeymoon has already come and gone. Presidents-elect usually lie low during the interregnum, the transition period. Well, Trump never lies low. He seized the actual presidency from Barack Obama within weeks of his election, cutting ostentatious and grandstandingly corrupt deals with U.S. manufacturers to keep jobs at home, challenging 40-year-old China policy, getting into a very public fight with the intelligence agencies. By now, he has taken over the presidential stage. It's true that we have only one president at a time, and for over a month already, it's been Donald Trump. See, this is why Trump will never be popular, and the only thing that can get him a second term is if the Democrats keep doing what they're doing. Well, the result is quantifiable. A Quinnipiac poll from November 17th through the 20th, the quiet hope and change phase, showed a decided bump in Trump's popularity and in general national optimism. Well, it didn't last long. In the latest Quinnipiac poll, the numbers have essentially returned to Trump's historically dismal pre-election levels. By the way, that has been corroborated by at least 3 other polls. I believe it was ABC News Washington Post, NBC News Wall Street Journal, and Gallup. And of course, Gallup is an independent pollster, so that lends some credibility there. Rasmussen, of course, is the one outlier. But then Rasmussen has historically had a GOP bias, which got more pronounced once Scott Rasmussen himself left the organization that he founded. For several reasons, or there are several reasons for this. The honeymoon that never was for Donald Trump. First, the refusal of an unbending left to accept the legitimacy of Trump's victory. It's not just the demonstrators chanting, "Not my president!" Not my president either, but he's going to be the president in, 25 hours and 56 minutes. It is leading Democrats pushing one line after another to delegitimize the election, as in, he lost the popular vote, it's James Comey's fault, the Russians did it. Second, Trump's own instincts and inclinations. Oh, by the way, that, Trump is not legitimate. Trump was not legitimately elected. Democrats are going to push that. That's going to be their narrative. And you know how the left is, you know how the media is, pardon the redundancy. They will hammer away on that relentlessly, day in and day out, for weeks, months, years, however long it takes, and it will take hold with low information voters, because that's what the left does. That's what they did to George W. Bush for the last 6 years of his presidency. Remember, I've said I've said many times over the past, dozen years, that 9/11 was the only reason that Bush 43 was reelected. If not for 9/11, he'd have been a one-termer just like his father. I mean, this is what the left does. They take a narrative that sounds silly And then they just flog it and flog it and flog it until it becomes a conventional wisdom. Until the low information voters, which is the majority of the electorate in this country, come to believe it. It's established fact, gospel, even though Trump was legitimately elected because he won the Electoral College, which is how the Constitution sets forth that we elect presidents in this country. But it won't matter. Most people will come to believe it. This is what the left does. Just remember that, Trumplicans. Second, Trump's own instincts and inclinations, a thirst for attention that leads to hyperactivity. Yeah, he doesn't like he doesn't like tweeting. Oh, he hates to tweet, but he's obligated, you see. He actually said that yesterday. Yesterday or the day before in an interview. Well, I don't like tweeting. yeah, Donald Trump just hates to tweet. His need to dominate every news cycle feeds an almost compulsive tweet habit. It has placed him just about continuously at the center of the national conversation, which is he can't be anywhere else. And of course, not always to his benefit, but try telling his narcissism that. Trump simply can't resist playground pushback. His tweets gave Meryl Streep's Golden Globe screed priceless publicity. His mocking Arnold Schwarzenegger for bad Apprentice ratings compared with the ratings machine, DJT, made Trump look small and Arnold almost sympathetic. See, this is why I keep telling Trumplicans, and they, that you can't tell them anything. But I just warn them again. Trump is going to be so exhausting, and his cultists are going to be besieged and just constantly embattled because their guy is going to continue to do things like this. He won't take a low profile. He won't take a step back. He has to be the center of attention. I guarantee you, for most Americans, he starts out his presidency with about a 41% approval rating on average. Mid 40s tops, which is the lowest approval rating for a newly inaugurated president in 40 years, at least. That's where he starts from. Most presidents on their inauguration day are in the 60s. Even George W. Bush, on the day he was inaugurated 16 years ago, he had a 62% approval rating on that day. Trump starts out 20 points below that. So he's got a lot of work just to get up to where the average presidential approval rating is when things are going relatively well. And he goes out of his way to continue saying controversial, divisive things. Donald Trump is never more in his element than when he is fighting with somebody, a public feud. Now, I know that making presidents, or thinking of presidents as entertainers, you know where that started? Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton started that, the mixing of reality television and the presidency. And then we had a brief period of sobriety after 9/11 under George W. Bush, and then, along came Barack Obama, the world's biggest celebrity, and of course, he fundamentally transformed the Republican Party, and now we got Donald Trump. But Donald Trump may finally give that trend a bad name and may reverse it. I'll guarantee you this too. After Trump, there's going to be a reaction toward, I don't want a president to be an entertainer. I don't want the president to be a star. I don't want the president to, the president of the United States, his face is on the television screen on a daily basis anyway. But it shouldn't be. That should not be the case. And You know, once people get tired of that, maybe we'll go back to what the presidency is supposed to be, which is not dominating our lives. A humble presidency, perhaps. You know what the last president to suggest that, to run on that platform was? Jimmy Carter, if I remember correctly. Fascinating stuff. Point is, this behavior of Trump's is not likely to change after the inauguration. I mean, why would it? He was himself and still got elected. Why would he change his personality now, even if he was capable of it? I mean, it's just part of Trump's character. Nothing negative goes unanswered because for Trump, an unanswered slight has the air of concession or surrender. See, with Trump, it's all about him. It's not about the Republican Party. It's not about anybody else, and it sure as hell isn't about the country. It's about Trump. Make America great again. Substitute Trump for America, and that's what it really means. And like every megalomaniac, he equates the two. He conflates the two. Whatever is good for Trump is good for America. Well, no, not necessarily. You know who the last president was to think that way? Trump's predecessor. Just saying. Finally, it's his chronic indiscipline. His jumping randomly from one subject to another without rhyme, reason, or larger strategy. Basically, President ADHD. In a week packed with confirmation hearings and Russian hacking allegations, what was he doing meeting with Robert Kennedy Jr., an anti-vaccine extremist, pushing the thoroughly credited idea that vaccines cause autism? But then Trump is a conspiracy nut, and the idea that vaccines cause autism is a coin of the realm, a staple of conspiracy theories. So 4 years of conspiracy theories, folks. That's what we've been stuck with. Now, we know from way back during the Republican debates that Trump himself has dabbled in this dubious territory. Again, it's his stock and trade. One could, however, write it off as one of many campaign oddities that would surely fade away. Well, no, actually, not. It's not. It can't be. And this is not good. This is one of the many ways in which Donald Trump is not and never will be fit to be president of the United States and should not nor ever have been elected. The idea that vaccines cause autism originally arose in a 1998 paper in the medical journal The Lancet that was later found to be fraudulent and had to be retracted. Indeed, the lead researcher acted so egregiously that he was stripped of his medical license. Again, is this a huge deal? No, not comparatively speaking, but it's symptomatic. It's of a piece with his claim the other day, as I mentioned earlier, that he doesn't like to tweet. It's a joke. He just throws things out there without thinking, without even stopping to give any thought at all to, gee, well, you know what? That really sounds stupid, and it's obviously not true. He throws it out there anyway. Probably because in that moment, he actually convinces himself that it's true, even though it's laughably not true. If a prominent public figure were to laugh in Trump's face about, oh, sure, he doesn't like to tweet, huh? Right. He would hop on Twitter and unleash a Twitter storm against whoever that was. Insulting him, calling him a loser, or her if it were a woman, and how that all the reasons why they suck. And this is Trump. He's mentally unstable. he's, well, I think the clinical term is he's nuts. RFK Jr. says that Trump asked him to chair a commission about vaccine safety. Well, of course he did. But either way, the damage is done. I mean, while denying that, the transition team does say that the commission idea remains open. But again, the damage is done. The anti-vaccine fanatics seek any validation. This indirect endorsement from Trump is immensely harmful. Vaccination has prevented more childhood suffering and death than any other measure in history. With so many issues pressing, why even go there? Because he's Trump. Trump gotta be Trump, and nobody controls Trump, so who's going to change him? And what? He got elected, again, he got elected being this way. What reason would he possibly have for thinking that he needed to change his ways? He's not going to change his ways. As far as he's concerned, those ways got him elected president. The vaccine issue is merely an exclamation point on the scatterbrained randomness of the Trump transition. All of which contributes to the harried, almost wearying feeling that we are already well into the Trumpetency. And we are, folks. Except that tomorrow it's probably going to ratchet up into an even higher level of maximum overdrive. And Dr. K's use of the term wearying is exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to get Trump fatigue within the first 6 months, maybe sooner. It's going to be constant, unending. President tabloid. That's what it's going to be. Not in the sense that tabloids have always done stories on whoever's president at the time, and just crazy, silly nonsense. Well, now the publisher of the National Enquirer is a Trump bosom buddy, part of the Trump inner circle. This is what you're going to get. You got a president who, in 25 hours and 36 minutes, who is on a par with boy trapped in refrigerator eats own foot. This has been mainstreamed now. This nonsense and foolishness. And compare this to 8 years ago and the near euphoria, overblown but nonetheless palpable, at the swearing in of Barack Obama. Pardon me. Barack Hussein Obama, Not since JFK had any new president enjoyed such genuine goodwill upon accession to office. And yet it turns out that such auspicious beginnings are not at all predictive. We could have seen it this same week. Or we could see it this same week. On Tuesday night, there stood Obama, giving a farewell address that only underscored the failure of a presidency so bathed in optimism at its start. The final speech, amazingly, could have been given nearly unedited in 2008. Why, it even ended with, "Yes, we can." Is there more powerful evidence of the emptiness of the intervening 2 terms? Not to mention the one that's starting just over a day from now. When your final statement is a reprise of your first, you have unwittingly confessed to being nothing more than a historical parenthesis before the headlong leap into the abyss. I've said for months on end now that Donald Trump does not deserve any benefit of the doubt. That's something that has to be earned. And he'll have his chance starting tomorrow. But I have very serious doubts, and I'm highly skeptical that he ever will earn the benefit of the doubt. He doesn't deserve it, and Kimberly Ross at Red State agrees. It's hardly surprising that 2 months after such a contentious election, emotions have not died down. President-elect Trump is set to be inaugurated on January 20th, tomorrow, and the excitement and anger this elicits is at an all-time high. And here I sit back with just my cynicism as strong and powerful as it's always been, because there never seems to be a reason to ratchet that cynicism down. To many, the 2016 election was a binary one, although it need not have been, but that's just the way our system has developed in American politics. Over the past, what is it now, 227 years? Yeah, that's right. Voters' only choices, so we were told, were Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. You just had to choose one of the two. Well, no, you didn't. You did not. Any other ideological leaning was incorrect. Well, there was only one ideological leaning between the two. Liberal. In fact, not supporting one meant you actually supported the other, and vice versa. No, that's not true either. Still unsure how that whole phantom vote was applied. Though the campaigning has ended and the final vote cast and counted, another decision between two opposites remains. This is the binary choice between choosing to believe President-elect Trump or the press. I don't put a whole lot of stock in either one, actually. After all, there can be no middle ground. That's the only conclusion one can reach, right? Wrong. The answer is no. In fact, give neither side the benefit of the doubt. Matt Walsh tweeted, "Be extremely skeptical of anyone who believes or disbelieves the whole Trump-Russia report automatically. Donald Trump has not even moved into the Oval Office, and we're already being tested as a nation in a post-election sense. The unsubstantiated, shocking, salacious dossier published by BuzzFeed is just the beginning of this several years-long journey of sifting the false from the true. Trump isn't just any soon-to-be president. He's Donald Trump. Oh, I'm sorry. Donald Trump! Got to get those voice inflections, right? Kind of like when Ted Knight was doing the narration for the original Super Friends cartoon. He defeated Hillary Clinton by way of the Electoral College, which means he was legitimately elected. Is regarded by many as not our president. Well, which is kind of a pointless thing to say. I mean, what they're really saying is, we don't support him. Well, fine, I don't support him either, just for opposite reasons. But he will be the president, and what they want that to mean is, no, he's not the president. Well, yeah, he is, effective tomorrow. That's why this whole business of protests and waving signs, and yeah, that's never been my thing under any circumstances. But this, what does it accomplish? What's the point? I don't see any point to it. Trump was legitimately elected. He's going to be president, just like Obama was legitimately elected and reelected and was president for 8 years. God help us all. So he's regarded by many as not our president and made his name on the campaign trail with obnoxious braggadocio. Though it certainly is tempting, as someone who never supported Trump the candidate and who will not support Trump the president, to immediately assume things of him. After all, he's shown himself to be a classless, perverted, juvenile liar. It's not as if his character is shining and gracious and allegations made are out of step with these things. But assertions are not facts, and reputations do not make accusations instantly credible. Just because a report or news story exists which one could see lining up with Trump as a person does not necessarily make it the truth. Conversely, the media is very easy to dislike. They also have a character problem, and it's been evident for, 60 years at least. It predates my existence on this planet. Just this past year is a perfect example of their extreme bias. Hillary Clinton sailed smoothly across the media landscape when she was running for president. Standards that the press held others to did not apply to her at all. Since the election, the media and the left in general have been obsessed with determining fake news from real. That's a term I've already gotten sick of hearing. Because you know what fake news is? News that doesn't agree with our tribe. That's what fake news is. It's on both sides. I mean, fake news is news we don't want to hear. Like each side gets to have its own objective facts. Sorry, life doesn't work that way. Objective. In that quest, some have placed certain conservative outlets in the fake category, and vice versa. Obviously, difference of opinion is not the same as being incorrect or fake. This is true of their assessment of us as well as our assessment of them. Caleb House said it best after Trump's win. Quote, "In January, begin holding President Trump, which he will be, accountable. Hold your representatives and senators accountable. Do what political activists are supposed to do, especially conservative activists who are in opposition. Fight the bad, encourage the good. Fight the power and also use it." Close quote. Now and in the future, we should praise Trump or the press when they're right. Don't hold your breath on that happening either direction. And call them out when they're wrong, which we here at the Hard Starboard Radio channel and on the Hard Starboard Radio podcast do on a regular basis. It's not a comfortable swill. You ever notice people leave that off, that middle syllable? It's not comfortable, it's comfortable. Anyway, it's not a comfortable pill to swallow, but it's the high ride of moral authority, something that Donald Trump will never have. And as we are on the eve of the Trump inauguration, here via J.D. Rucker at Red State are three not so obvious things conservatives should watch for as Trump takes office. At least it isn't Hillary. These words of solace for conservatives who oppose Donald Trump may have many, if not most, of the old never-Trumpers feeling a little bit better about prospects for the future. Well, no, not really. Because Trump is just as bad. I mean, this fix has been in for, everyone knew Hillary was going to be it. This fix has been in for almost 8 months. As soon as it was confirmed that it was going to be Trump versus Hillary, America was screwed. Screwed for another 4 years. It doesn't do much to change the perspectives for those of us who are watching the Republican Party descend even further down the path towards big government, big budgets, and federal overreach. But what's done is done. Now isn't the time to imagine what a President Cruz, President Walker, President Paul, or President Rubio would be doing differently. Barack Obama is leaving office, knock wood, and somehow the world didn't end at some point in the last 8 years, so there's that. With Trump taking over before the weekend, it's time for conservatives to put on our magical discernment glasses and pull out our handy-dandy dissenting megaphones in preparation for all the leftward lurches the new Republican government throws in our direction. Before we get into the three things for which to watch, it's important to understand the reasons we should expect them. Number one, Trump 2020, Keep America Great, starts today. Any thoughts that he would finish one term and hand it off to Mike Pence in 2020 can be dissolved. He's already locking down Keep America Great as his possible slogan for 2020. While many underestimated his ability to plan ahead, they didn't notice that he grabbed Make America Great Again 6 days after Mitt Romney lost. He's a planner and a winner. Keep all of this in mind when you consider what he might do in the next 3 years to win over more voters. Number two, Trump is a liberal at heart. Trump's liberal leanings have been covered ad nauseum, but obviously not as much as they need to be. For this election, he pretended to tack right on many issues, such as immigration, but he was careful not to go too far to the right on most issues because, as he says, he can change his opinion at will. Against Hillary Clinton, he needed to maintain as much of his right-leaning message intact as possible, but we can expect him to hold Republicans with immigration while shifting fiscally and socially to the left. Single-issue voters, folks. Biggest threats to the republic that are out there. 3, it's easiest to sell to a salesman. Here's a point that I've been flogging for months. Knowing that he wants to win a second term, we can be certain that he'll find the right buttons to push based upon popular opinion. Moreover, he's a great salesman. Great salesmen are the easiest marks for other great salesmen. If Chucky Schumer, George Soros, or even Barack Obama can convince Trump that he'll be more popular if he does this, that, or the other, he's inclined to check it out. Throughout his presidency, we can expect Trump to wet his thumb and stick it in the air to test the winds, or at least while he's got his 4 fingers grabbing the nearest pussy. Where they lead, he will follow. He will make deals with Democrats because he's already conquered the Republicans. Hello? We all know the obvious things for which to watch. Obamacare lingering or getting tweaked into single payer. Big infrastructure projects. Stimulus, if you will recall, that require another $1 trillion or 2 rapidly added to the debt number, which is over $20 trillion already, and free market capitalism getting usurped by protectionism and restrictive mandates. Here are 3 things that we should also consider that may or may not already be on your watch list. Progressive economic measures. Trump has hinted at certain pieces of liberal fiscal ideologies that he favors. From a $10 national minimum wage to Ivanka's child care measures, entitlements, he's never shied away from turning left on money. After all, Trump once said, "The economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans." The key is selling it to the Republican Congress. We've already seen his ability to turn fair trade, which means no trade, into an idea that most Republicans suddenly favor after being the party of free trade for decades. On what else can he sell them? This is a one that maybe y'all haven't considered, but it makes perfect sense. The way that Trump handled evangelicals this election cycle was a clinic in saying just enough without saying anything at all. He was vocal about wanting everyone to say Merry Christmas. He waved around a Bible and even attempted to read a Bible verse or two out loud. Of course, got both the verse and the reference completely wrong. Somehow the expression the devil the devil can quote scripture very effectively comes to mind. What he didn't do was make any specific mentions of issues important to Christians outside of abortion. Remember, he transgenderized the bathrooms in Trump Tower last spring. That long ago, yeah. Now, this could be a setup for a universal form of ecumenicalism that goes beyond uniting denominations and heads toward unifying all religions. Sounds like the one world religion of Revelation, now doesn't it? I know what you're thinking. This has never been a topic that he's directly broached. However, he's never been attended to by those who would push such a concept. The people who push Chrislam and other religious unity topics didn't think he would win, so what was the point? Now that he's in office, he's going to be their biggest target. What they're selling makes sense on the surface. Imagine if all religions accepted each other. Remember, he has no core principles except look out for number one. All you Jerry Falwell Jr. types and James Dobsons, he's going to sell out your asses in a heartbeat. Yes, Trump would likely support Chrislam. What would it mean? Well, that's a... we'll have a chance to get to that as the dismal days and weeks and months unfold. Here's another one, and this one is inevitable. Consolidation of, not just a consolidation, but expansion of executive power. Now, understand, we're talking about expansion of executive power beyond where even Barack Obama expanded it. We're talking presidential tyranny level. We're talking despot and tyrant. I mean, so this isn't one that would shock anybody. We know that Trump craves power. We know he's a man of action. We know he doesn't like waiting for others to move. You can see where this is headed, can't you? What you may not have considered is just how far he could turn against the Constitution and sell the concept of doing so to Americans, even conservatives. You know, I wonder how soon it will be before I will have occasion to contact my, I don't know what to call him now, current friend, former friend, estranged friend, I don't know, Douglas V. Gibbs, Mr. Constitution, who is a Trumper, even if he won't admit it, and see what he thinks about each Trump unconstitutional power grab as it unfolds. Because a lot of the people that support Douglas V. Gibbs, a lot of his network down in the Gibbs pocket, I guarantee you they're gonna cheer every single Trump usurpation, every single Trump unconstitutional act, every single Trump violation of Article 1, Section 1. They're gonna cheer it just like they went bat bleep out of their minds in anger when Barack Obama did it. Why? Because Trump is their demigod, their messiah, their tribal leader. And Obama was the same for the other side, you see. I can already hear the sales pitch. As CEO, I could get things done. Now, as president, I'm stuck waiting for bureaucrats to stop twiddling their thumbs. My predecessor used his pen and his phone to make things happen. I'm going to do the same thing to undo what he did and to get important things done around here. Still unconstitutional. Shall we take another look? Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, not the President. But Trump won't care about that, and neither will Trump supporters. Hypocrites. I mean, it won't be subtle. It won't be hidden behind some cleverly erected veil. Subtlety and Trump they're antonymical, okay? Trump is never subtle about anything. He will do this openly and with devastating impact to the Constitution, because many of the people who purported to stand for the Constitution have sold out to Trump. They're not going to go against their own political interest, their own tribe, just to save the founding document that they once claimed to venerate. At this point, all we can do is wait and see. Of course, that doesn't mean we have to do so passively. Stay alert. Watch what Trump and Congress do while the rest of America is looking in the other direction. The media is looking for scandals. It's up to conservative media, bloggers, and social media users to notice the non-scandals that can do much more harm than good. In other words, don't give him the chance to enjoy a honeymoon. Not that he isn't already taking care of that himself.